Hey everyone, welcome back to the Shift Podcast. I'm your host, Ricardo, and this is the space where inspiration meets leaders, mentors, and the everyday person who wants to make a change in the lives of other people. This is the show where we bring on guests that will come in and share their expertise, that will share their wisdom, practical knowledge of how you can shift your mindset. It is rooted in the philosophy of Ubuntu, which means I am because we are. Because if you win, all of us win. And it's that framework that we use. Shift means shaping how I feel and think. So this week we have an amazing guest. Hey guys, this week I have an amazing guest, Victor. He is, married man, father. He is an amazing person, a runner, so many things that this guy carries. And this week is a treat for you guys. Particularly, I want to give a big shout out to the running community as well out there. So I know there's a lot of people that support this guy. So without further ado, Victor, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Yes, man. It is just great. The signature question that we always ask our guests is, what does the shift mean to you? How important is the shift from your own perspective?
Oh, there's a lot of angles you can come at that from.
Yeah.
But for me personally, there are different elements of that. So if I start with movement, so the shift physically for me is just getting my body to a place where, in years to come, I can still enjoy movement, relatively pain-free, but just enjoy being out and just being in nature. But I think the biggest thing is mentally, and again, I'll come back to running. There's a lot of things are going to be tied to that, but I think mentally, running prepares you for a lot more things than, physicality, a lot of trauma in life, how to persevere through pain, how to, motivate not just yourself, but others as well. So it took me a while to change my mindset mentally, but running has helped me do that. And I think spiritually as well, it's always important to me that I have a balance in my life, both physically, mentally, and spiritually. Yeah. And the spiritual aspect of my life is still a work in progress and will continue to be a work in progress because it's a relationship walk, if you like. But for me, a shift means just a change in mindset, physically, mentally, and spiritually, really.
Wow. Also, just a quick background of who's Victor. For some people who in my mind, I'm so excited for this interview that I'm already trying to be there. So I just gotta, But in terms of background, who is Victor? How would you describe yourself? A little bit of background.
Well, we'll start from the beginning, I suppose. A quick snapshot. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of people think I'm from the UK. I'm not. I was born in Nigeria, spent 22 years of my life there, and obviously moved to the UK to study for my master's in health, safety and environmental management. But for some reason, some people think I'm French and Belgian. I don't know why. It must be my Welsh / Nigerian accent that gives that off. But no, I came here to study for my master's. Didn't intend on staying here. I just wanted to study, get back to Nigeria. But as life would have it, I met my wife, obviously fell in love and all that. Yeah. We got married and, started a family. And at age 30, I somehow discovered running. And the places it's taken me over the last 8 years of my running journey has just been so amazing. And it's not something I saw in my future. So in a nutshell, I'm a dad, I'm a runner, I'm now a dog lover, and I'd like to be seen as someone who promotes movement and the positive that brings. I'd like to continue to be a good role model as well, not just to my family, but just to people in general who are following my journey. Yeah. And I'm hoping to be someone that makes an impact, really. And that's me in a nutshell. Yeah,
man, that's great. Quickly to talk about, you were saying earlier off air about your wife, who's you go after this, you're going to an event.
Yes.
What are some of the things that don't want to be like, but what are some of the things that the characteristics, the qualities of your wife that brings the best out of you?
Oh, my wife is an incredible woman. Contrary to popular belief, I'm quite lazy, but my wife really pushes me to see beyond what I think I'm capable of. And I think when we got married, when we got together, she could see my potential even before.
Wow.
I could see it, and there's certain things that happen in my life now, and I look back and say, she said this. She's like, oh, that's the kind of person you are, and she always brings it out of me. She's a wonderful mother. She's really brought me out of my shell in terms of being open and vulnerable as well. Because, as you probably know, coming from an African background, we're not the most vulnerable people, and we don't like to show too much emotion, especially when it comes to men. But I think I went through a really dark period in my life, and my wife was really my rock then, and she showed me the importance of being vulnerable and just checking in with each other. And sometimes in marriage you can, I don't want to use the word go through motions, but sometimes it can feel like that. But I think it's important. My wife reminds me every time that, look, it's important we check in with each other. How are you feeling? What's going on with you? Yes, we're in the house together, but there might be deeper things happening.
Yes.
And she'll always pick up on it in certain mood changes. It's like, oh, there's something not quite right. So all around, she's just a powerful force in my life. And most people don't know this about my wife. My wife is even before I got into movement and exercise, my wife was already into all that. She's way stronger than I am.
Wow.
Believe it or not. So, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's like you're saying, coming from Africa, myself coming from South Africa. I remember when my wife is similar to what you're saying, bringing out the best in you and being that number one supporter, and you're kind of like, sometimes you get these support from outside or you get it from friends, but it's so powerful when it's there. And she always used to ask me, like, how do you feel? I'm like, I feel nothing, man. We're chatting about feelings here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we've never been exposed to what's really happening inside. I think when I became a coach, a life coach, that is kind of like what's really happening for you. Let's check in, what that looks like. And it's incredible when you have that at home, where you don't need to go out there and kind of like go and find people getting to know you, but you find that place, that solitary place, kind of like, boom, coming home in that space. She's studying you, she knows where you're at, and calling things out of you. That's like, just crazy.
I know it's amazing because like we said, obviously the way we sort of grew up, emotion wasn't even a question.
No.
And to add to that, I went to a military boarding school as well. So from age 10. So again, I was pretty much, I think I lived my life in isolation of sorts, and emotions didn't just come into it. And obviously, since being with my wife and since running a lot of things, I've started noticing that there are a lot of traumas that I didn't quite address, from that young age. And as I'm getting older, I'm seeing it now. It's like, right, this is why I sort of acting the way I'm acting, because I haven't dealt with something that happened when I was a teenager. I just put it to one side, and it's sort of bubbled to the surface now. So.
Which we're going to talk about. You were saying about that movement, isn't it? You said like how it can actually help with the trauma and actually discovering and mindset, and I'm looking forward to that one as well. But you're talking about fatherhood. You grew up without your dad. I grew up without my dad as well, and so now for you, it's like being a father. How has that changed you from what you've experienced to where you are now?
I made a promise to myself when I was 4. I know, quite young. But my mum was married at the time, and the marriage didn't end particularly well. So it was just me and my mum for a long period of time. My mum's obviously happily married now to my stepdad. But my biological father wasn't in the picture at all at the time, and I didn't know anything about him. But I saw how my mum was treated at age 4 or 5, and I promised myself that, when I'm in that position, I would never be like that. And I always wanted to be a present father. I always wanted to be what I didn't have, because I remember then in boarding school, people, guys sharing stories. Oh, what did you do over the holiday? Oh, my dad did this, my dad did. And, you're just that kid sat in the corner. It's like you haven't got that story to tell. It's like, oh, my dad did this. It's like, oh, my mum. And a kid asked me, it's like, oh, your mum's always doing stuff for you. It's like, what of your, your dad? And, you laugh it off at the time. But again, thinking back now of traumas, stuff like that has an impact. And I always promised myself that, look, I was going to be the best father that I could possibly be. And don't get me wrong, I make mistakes because I probably didn't have that father figure to learn certain things for. And there are a couple of things I'm learning as I go along. But I've got some good role models in my life, I think, a good male role models that I can learn from and, sort of add that to my experience of being a dad. It's the best feeling ever, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm just happy to be present in my kids' lives, to do the silly stuff, let my daughter paint my nails, do my hair, have a joke with my son. It's stuff that I wanted, and I'm happy that I'm in a position to give that to my children, and that I've kept that promise that I made to myself when I was 4 or 5. So
that's crazy. What is like the funniest thing that your daughter and your son ever said to you that make you laugh all the time?
Oh, my son, my son. Now I'm only 38, but for some reason, I'm ancient to my son, and everything I do, I learn a lot of stuff from him. And, when you're trying to do stuff and you can't quite figure it out, and my son just looks at me. There's a term he says, I think kids call old people boomers. And it's like, oh, you're such a boomer. It's like, what? It cracks me up every time, But, my son's humor is so quick. He kind of reminds me of me because I'm quite quick like that. And my daughter, my daughter is just the sweetest thing ever. My daughter is the one, I love both my kids, but my daughter is someone where just spiritually, she just knows when I'm having a bad day. And without saying anything, she just walks up to me. She just gives me a hug. She just says, you need a hug. She just gives me a hug and just walks off.
Wow.
And she always does it when I'm having a particularly not great day, and she just notices it. And my daughter is special, and she will be a special woman when she grows up. I can already see it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are you learning from your son and your daughter? Anything that you learn and you're like, man, I'm going to apply that in my life now, or I'm going to start adjusting certain things?
I think it's learning to be a bit more playful and not be serious. Because again, the whole African,
I'm telling you.
It's like, oh, everything's not a joke, everything's serious. But, from time, my wife catches me out on this all the time, Sometimes I just sit back. There's some reactions I give when my kids do certain things, and, I'll hold my hands up. They're never the best sometimes, but again, it's what I knew growing up. And then I sit back and think, oh, hang on, that's not the right way to respond. And I'll go and apologize to him. I was like, you know what, I shouldn't have responded in that way. But my kids constantly remind me to keep searching for that inner child of mine, that those things that give me joy, those silly things like, playing in the garden and just splashing water in each other, pillow fights, silly stuff like that. Because we don't have forever with them when they're kids, because the time will come when they're teenagers and they don't want to do all that. This is the time to sort of make those memories with them. So no, they just remind me to be young and playful at heart all the time. So
100%. It's like my mom always used to say, I'm not your friend.
Yeah,
That's not time for playing.
I use that all the time. I said, look, I was like, I'm not your, I was like, you can't, sometimes, you know, the joke goes over my head sometimes. I'm like, look, I'm not one of your mates. You can't speak to me like that. You know, and then I sit back and I think, oh, right, actually, you know, he didn't mean any malice by it. And I tend to find that a lot of people tell me this, even my mother, but even till now, I don't see it. But me and my son are very, very similar in our characters. We clash quite a bit, but we have good times, but we clash quite a bit. And it's just because we're so similar.
Quick.
You know, we're so similar in our characters. And it's quite tricky. It's quite a tricky stage for me to navigate. Just trying to understand that, look, everything is not war and peace. There's sometimes, yes, a strong word is needed, but there's sometimes, I think more importantly, to just wrap your arms around him and just say, look, do you know what? I understand, you know, that probably wasn't the right way to do this. We should probably do it this way, you know, but I'm learning that.
Yeah, man, definitely.
So.
Movement, running. You said 30 years old you started running, and I said off air. I said about, you know, Dean, one of our friends back then, started a running club. No, I don't know if it was a running club. He just wanted for people to come together, you know, and running. But he told me about you, and he was just saying like how determined, you know, there is this kind of thing. Did you know that you're gonna be running and doing these amazing things you're doing today?
Not a clue at all. When I first started running, I always tell the story of my very first run. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I just said, today is the day. I'm going to do it. I woke up 6 o'clock that morning. I had a pair of 5-pound trainers on. Don't know what brand they were. I went out there and I think I ran about 3 or 4 kilometers, and that was the most painful run I've ever done.
Wow.
But I felt some sort of joy after doing it, and I just continued. And, you know, obviously Dean started what he started in church at the time. And obviously it's a new eager runner. You just wanted to absorb everything. And in my mind, I wasn't improving, but clearly in Dean's eyes, I was. I was just showing up and just doing little things here and there. Signed up for my first 10K. Completed my first 5K, a park run, which nearly floored me. Not nearly, it did floor me.
Wow.
Signed up for my first 10K race, and I haven't looked back since. And it's just grown. I mean, I'm lucky to be in the position I am now. Obviously, being an ambassador for ASICS, I never saw that.
How did that happen?
Well, the ASICS Front Runner program, it runs every year. So it's an opportunity for people to apply for the program. And ASICS are always looking for ambassadors for movement. So people who are obviously passionate about movement and running, passionate about making an impact in their community and building community. And those are things that resonated with me at the time. And I thought, I'd love to be a part of this community. But again, you know, the doubts creeping. You're probably not good enough. You're not there yet. You're not fast enough. But I studied those who were in the team at the time. When I say studied, I stalked them. And the more I watched and followed their journeys, the more I wanted to be part of that. So I applied 3 times, and on my 3rd time, I got in. And it's just been a whirlwind experience, all positive experience. I've had the opportunity to travel to certain places. I've had, obviously, the opportunity with the great gifted kids, because let's be honest, running gear is very expensive. So I feel very fortunate and very lucky to be in a position where I don't have to worry about that. But not just that, I've really found a sense of community. The running community is a very powerful community. And if you're really tapped into it, if you're tapped into movement, there's so many benefits you can get out of the community. And I'm at the point now where I just want to give back to the running community and just the community around me, really. And obviously being part of the ASEX Frontrunner team helps me, is one way that helps me do that as well.
It's fantastic. You know, like I was saying in our intro, it's our philosophy on the podcast is Ubuntu. I am because we are. And so you win, the community wins.
Yeah.
And is that sort of like, if the running community, I've got a couple of friends in London who runs as well.
Run club is massive in London.
They speak highly of the community, the encouragement, the compassion, the empathy, the pushing and spurring one another on. And you're also you're an ambassador of, is it VOOM?
Yeah, I'm ambassador of quite a few things. So, so VOOM, they kindly support my nutrition with energy gels and some great products. I'm also an ambassador for Dog Fit. So again, running with dogs and stuff, promoting the benefits of having a good relationship with your dogs and how exercising together with your dogs, creates a better relationship and obviously gets you fit, obviously. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm quite fortunate and blessed to be part of a lot of things. Most especially one of the communities, the Black Trail Runners communities. They really, really helped me grow. Because when I first started running, and a lot of people might think, again, if you haven't experienced it, you wouldn't know. But when I first started running, I was looking for community. I was looking for a running club to be a part of. But it's the sort of age-old stuff of you looking into spaces and thinking, it all looks great from the outside, but this space isn't quite welcoming, But luckily, I found a very inclusive running club in Newport, Liswery, who took me in and really helped me grow. And I'm entirely grateful to all of them at that running club. I hold them so dear to my heart. And then during COVID, I found Black Trail Runners. That's when I was getting into trail running. And I went to a taster event in Bristol. And it was so powerful seeing, Black people, people of color, people of different ethnicities that are in quotes supposedly marginalized communities just come together. And you know what it's like when we're all in the same space. The joy is just, and they really spurred me on and helped me grow in the trail running space. And again, really engraved that importance of community.
Do you know what just came to me as you're speaking about? It's like, how did you navigate that shift? Because it could have been like, I don't feel a sense of belonging there, so I don't need to go anymore. Just kind of like, how did you persevere, just keep going to a point now? 8 years ago, it wasn't like that. Now, ambassadors and this and then helping communities. How did you work through that shift and trying to?
I think for me, it's the saying of you can't be what you can't see. So when I was looking into these spaces, the easy option would be it's not a welcoming space. No. And then you never try anything. So when I look into any space and I think, well, there's no one like me in there. I was like, well, that means I've got to be the first in that space.
Pioneer.
Then, I was like, because someone has been a pioneer for me, I was like, so the little bit I can do for someone else is to go into a space that, from the outside doesn't seem welcoming. And I'm in that space and people outside can say, there's our brother in there. It's like, okay, so let's give this a try. Let's see what it's about. And, and look, we've always got to take that leap of faith. History, if we go back in history is filled with pioneers of people who were the first to do things. We go through the likes of, Martin Luther King and the rest, things like that. And, that's the kind of impact I wanted to create. In a small ways, like, look, I'll go into this space. I'll be the beacon in that space. I'll be the comfort in that space to let you know, look, you're welcome here. you have every right to be in this space. You know, the people in here are not scary. If anything, a lot of them will benefit from you being in this space, because then they can learn from you and we can learn from each other. And again, back to building community. So
you can't be
what you can't see.
what you can't see.
Yeah.
So when they look in, they see you.
That's it.
And that is it's like Nelson Mandela says, like when you let your light shine, you're unconsciously giving other people permission to do the same.
Yeah.
And so it is that, like, he's there. And I'm glad that you're not a weird guy. Because they'll be like, he's there, but oh man, he's weird.
Yeah.
It's almost like, what is he doing there?
I know.
But so it's giving that permission for other people, you know. And I know even in your workplace you were saying that diversity and inclusion. I watched a clip of the Transport for Wales.
Yeah.
About what you were saying there about how, like, your name means such powerful, you know, meaning behind your name, but because of your name you didn't get in.
Yeah. That was there's a time in my life. I know a lot of people obviously call me Victor, but obviously my first name is Inein. And there was a time in my life that obviously when I moved to the UK, it's quite weird because it's a completely different space. You move from Nigeria, everyone knows your first name.
Yeah.
And then you get here and it seems like your first name is like a barrier. People already start making assumptions about you.
Yeah.
Just based on your name, and you know, oh, that name doesn't sound very, what's the word I'm looking for now? I need to find the right word. Very welcoming, if you like.
Okay.
You know, I've had so many things said to me at job interviews, some things that people wouldn't believe that I wouldn't even repeat. But again, it had to do with the name and the perception that, oh, you know, you're from Africa, you're from Nigeria. You know, there are certain perceptions. So at the time I made the decision then, look, I'm just going to go by my middle name. And I obviously got a lovely English sounding last name, Garrick. So I thought, oh, that would break the barriers down. And it did, you know, for me. I was able to get into spaces. But then obviously as I grew, I want to say as I grew into a father, a man, I began to think back and say, hang on, why am I hiding a part of myself? You know, I'm not bringing my full self to places. And again, Transport for Wales was the catalyst for that, really. And we had a good equalities, diversity and inclusion a manager, Rachel. I don't know if she's still there now because obviously I'm there, Transport for Wales. But she started a change, you know, within there. And again, all it takes is one person. And then you get the confidence that, no, actually, it's like, yes, you know, what they're saying is right. I can be a force for change. I can educate people. It's all about educating people because a lot of the time, I know there's a lot of information out there that people can look up themselves. But again, there's too much information out there. What's the right information? But this is where we come in as beacons of light and of accurate information. That's like, look, this is who we are. This is what we represent. This is what my name stands for. This is what my culture means. This is what my food means. This is what this attire means. And it's so interesting the conversations you have just by, oh, my name is Inein. Oh, what does that mean? A moment to educate and then a moment to teach and to change mindsets and misconceptions about who we are and where we're from.
You're right. Even if you say, oh, my name is Victor, and they say, yeah, my granddad, my great-grandfather was Victor too. Yeah, but you don't understand the meaning behind Victor. It's a name. You say, yeah, I can relate to the name, but you don't know the meaning of the name. There's some connection to the name, where it came from, it started, you know, and it's just phenomenal. Like, your journey has just been like, and I see on you know, this is what we now would do, isn't it? We see each other on Instagram, on Facebook socials, and you're like, no, he's still running. To go back to running with the dogs, man, I don't know, African folks, I don't know, people being like dogs. I'm like, listen. Your dog is I remember when I first came to the UK, my friend picked me up from Nottingham, went to their house, and as soon as we came in, the dog must have been excited to know that she's back. And I was like, what is the dog doing in the house? You know, and she's like, oh, it's so cute. I'm like, it's not cute. It needs to be in the garden, or it needs to be in the backyard. I got so scared that I had to ask if I could stay somewhere else. And the dog was there. Myself and the dog were looking at each other. And it's almost like the dog is like, who are you? I'm like, I'm scared. Yeah. And he's like, I know. And it's just like crazy now how you didn't, from not would I say like dogs, or you know, or didn't understand, to running with them.
Yeah.
How did that shift?
Well, obviously, I had a bad experience when I was about 6 or 7, where you know what it's like in Africa, in Nigeria. If you have dogs, you have them for a reason. They're there for security. They're not pets.
Yeah.
And you know, I got attacked by 3 German shepherds at the time, and obviously that just instilled that fear in me. Now, my cousin had a dog. You know, I was still very apprehensive of dogs. But again, when I started running, and my wife is from a family who's always had dogs, and so that sort of helped a bit.
Yeah.
But then because, you know, she's a package deal, she's like, my family likes dogs, so, you know, you've got to learn to be, you know, to be good with that.
Yeah.
But I think for me, mentally, when that shift happened was, again, back to running, running with a couple of people where I used to live. They used to run with sheepdogs. And I thought, oh, this is quite cool. You know, and the dogs are obviously like nice and all, and, you know, it's an opportunity to like touch, and like, I was like, okay, this is not as scary as I thought. And then I thought, oh, how awesome would it be if I could, you know, have a dog of my own that, you know, I could one day run with.
Wow.
And then lockdown happened, and as most people did, I thought, well, I was like, no time better than now to get a dog.
Wow.
And we got the first one, Zuko. And as the world would have it, obviously me being anxious around dogs, Zuko is a very anxious dog.
Wow.
So we were both very anxious people.
Okay.
And somehow we've helped each other to get over that anxiety. So he's obviously helped me get over my anxiety with dogs. And whereas I'm helping him to the anxiety around everything, he's frightened of everything.
Okay.
So it was a nice trade-off.
Yeah.
And but over time, running with your dog, you build a special kind of bond. Okay. I know obviously walking your dogs you do, but you're both doing an activity together. The dogs are excited when I get the harness. It's like, right, we're out to work because they're working dogs. Like, harness on, we're out for an adventure, we're going to explore. And it builds a deeper connection and a deeper relationship between you and said dog. My dogs I've become one of those people that say my dogs are like children now. To me, they're an important part of our family. They teach my kids responsibility as well, because obviously having a dog is a big responsibility. There are things that need to be done. And they're also teaching my kids the importance of responsibilities and the importance of staying committed to something. Because when you own a dog, it's a commitment. So it goes beyond a physical commitment. There's a commitment there that every day, come rain, come shine, that dog needs to be walked. That dog needs to be fed. That dog needs to be exercised, whether I like it or not. And you can take that mentality into life as well. Whether I like it or not, this situation, I've got to find a way to persevere because it's here now. It's got to be dealt with. And I think that's the beautiful thing about my dog. They've actually helped me in terms of my commitment to doing things and to seeing things through. Because it wasn't easy. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say having a dog was easy for someone who was scared of dogs. I had moments where I was thinking, am I doing the right thing here? It's like, this is too much. And now and again, I still have those moments, but it's the journey, it's the perseverance that I'm learning from it, the commitment, the discipline, you know, and all those things also help me as a runner as well. Perseverance, discipline, when things go tough or things don't go according to plan, just stick with it.
Yeah, that's powerful. While we're closing, you were saying earlier about how running through the pain. Because when you mentioned that, I was thinking, like, how do you run through the pain, and how has running helped you to shift the mindset? But also thinking for the running community, if you could give them some encouragement of how they can continue, because I saw on Instagram a lot of people, loving on you and respecting and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So running through the pain, and also like how can you inspire them?
I mean, for me, running is much more than physical, it's spiritual as well. And I haven't touched much on the spiritual aspect of it, especially trail running for me. Every time I go out onto a local trail, it's usually quiet. It's a time for me to reflect. It's a time for me to actually pray. It's like my quiet time. It's like a meditative time, I start my day like that. If I'm not running, I'm out on the trails with the dogs. And it's just a space that allows me think of the things that are important in my life, to appreciate those things that are important in my life, to take stock of what I'm dealing with, because we're all dealing with something, and it's my moment in time, just being out there, vulnerable on my own, because yes, it's good to be vulnerable with those who are closest to you, like my wife, but sometimes you need to do that for yourself on your own, self-reflection, and running helps me do that. And if I and it's not just running, just getting out there, just getting out in nature. You don't have to be a runner, but we were created for movement. We weren't created to sit still. There's so many things. Wales is beautiful if you're from Wales. There's so many places to explore.
You're right.
I really, for those who are runners or who are not runners, I really encourage people to, go out, explore the local park, explore the local trails. When you see someone randomly, speak to him.
Yeah.
On there, build a connection. Running a movement does that. It helps you build connections. It helps, obviously, physically good, spiritually and mentally. It grounds you. And I just want to continue to be in a position where I'm a good ambassador and role model for that, to say, look, this is what running can do for you, or movement, walking, hiking can do for you. But most importantly, it's just being a role model to my kids and kids after them as well. It's just leaving, if I could leave a little bit of a legacy where my kids can say, oh, my dad was this and that, and some other kids somewhere can say, oh yeah, I saw your socials, or I saw you on telly, and you inspired me to do. That's all
Good.
Sometimes people get hung up in the fact that, brand ambassadors or ambassadors out there are all out for what they can grab, or freebies and all. And that comes with the territory. But if anyone is an ambassador for a movement, or as we use the term, influencer, I really like them to focus on why they started doing it. It's to create an impact. You don't have to have thousands of followers, or you just need to impact one person. Your post can inspire one person that day, can just look and say, do you know what? I'm going to do this. And I've had messages to say, do you know what? Your post is what I needed to read today. And that's what it's about for me.
100%.
Just inspiring just that one person, that day, to just pick up their shoes and just go outside.
We had 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Ruben, that we had Carly and Sarah about movement as well. They very high on movement. And so I started in the mornings. 6:30, I'm out there in the valleys and in the woodlands, going up, doing it for 2 weeks now. And I knew that you were coming too. And so this morning, it's every morning. Yeah. It's every morning getting out there, like my weight bag, and I just go and have those moments, pause, reflect, and document on my phone, just document what's happened here today. Get back, you feel as if like you've already started the day way. It feels like you have got more hours that you've done already.
You're already ahead.
And you're already ahead of the day.
Yeah.
And so I started picking that up, and it's such an incredible, even now after this interview, I have to go home and do another 2-hour walk with my wife. Do you know? And it's so it's that movement, and such a great feeling. So, man, what's next for you in terms of events coming up?
Well, I've got my A race this year.
Yeah.
I think my A race is I'm tackling my first 100 kilometers. So that's 63 miles. Never run that far before, but someone's got to do it. And obviously I'll be the first person in my family to do stuff like that. So it's always things like that give me motivation. But I've got quite a few events upcoming at the moment, mainly trail events.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to say as well, again, linking things back to
movement,
where we're from in terms of Africa, and movement is almost lost.
Yeah.
It's where, and if anyone's watching this or listening to this, look, you need to get back to your roots, because we were the original exercise influencers, if you like, the original gurus for movement. I think, especially I see it in my family, a lot of people are so comfortable, and I'm trying to encourage my own family to look, you need to get out there and get moving. So if you don't get anything from this today, the important thing is get out there, get moving.
Yeah.
You'll be better physically, mentally, and spiritually for it.
100%. And for Cape Townians, because of movement, don't say you're moving with your car.
Exactly. It's not jumping in the car and going somewhere and sitting down. Actually go out, walk for 20 or 30 minutes. Yeah. That's it.
Man, thank you so much for coming on the show. Your journey has just been incredible, and I know that there is more, from dad not being there, you are present dad, which means that you are modeling and you're a mentor already for your family there, and that's the thing, because your children's friends, which I saw your dad, and it's exactly, and that's the kind of pioneering, and I know that pioneering nature in you. You didn't just come here to work and getting married, but there's a greater purpose for you. So for the running community out there, keep doing what you guys are doing, keep pioneering and being a change, the change that you want to see. So whatever you do, if whatever you got from this, ask yourself this question: what do I need to shift today? If it's movement, keep moving, and also most importantly, stay grounded, keep shifting your mindset, and catch you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Catch you guys on the next one.